So I mean, I think the next set of commands you probably could have guessed immediately. In fact, these commands and many other commands in Juniper, if you know a Cisco command, it's always worth trying the same command but just removing the IP keyword after show. So instead of show IP interface brief, show interface terse. In fact, in Junos, there is a show interface brief command that gives you a bit more output than terse would, but considerably less than detail or extensive. In this slide, though, we've chosen to just list the show interface terse and show interface extensive variants. You can imagine that if we give the terse version, we're going to get a very, very small amount of output per interface. Just literally, is it admin up? Have you in config disabled it or not? Equivalent of shutdown in Cisco. And what's the state of the link? Do we sense a carrier? And we'll get that for every sub interface as well on top of our physical interfaces. If we're looking for much more detailed statistics, if we're looking for everything we can really imagine in terms of configuration of an interface, then show interface extensive is the way to go. Detail would give us a lot as well, definitely MTU and duplex and speed and, do we detect the loop? But extensive goes even further to give us every counter that the box is effectively gathering for that interface. Do I see frames that are too small, runts? Do I see packets that are too big, giants? Do I see layer 2 CRC fails, checksum failures? Do I see an excessive amount of broadcast traffic versus unicast traffic coming in on a switch interface, for example? So, anything you can really think of in terms of an interface counter can be found there. This last command here is one of my favorites, actually. So I had much pain in my operational days of waiting for somebody to get to site with a physical light meter and tell me whether the problem was the fiber or if I figure out if it's my interface is bad. But Juniper on a lot of our interfaces, our optical interfaces, give you the option to run show interface diagnostics optics and then name that interface. What we're doing now is, without disrupting in any way service on the interface, we're going to get the optical levels for both transmit and receive. You'll get a whole bunch of other stuff as well that you might care about, but definitely it's very nice to be able to get the dBm value, the optical strength in terms of transmit and receive, and see whether you're marginal. Are you very close to maximum receive strength, or are you far too low underneath the minimum receive strength? And that might explain the problems you're having with that interface. I mean, if you're well under the dBm level that's required, the interface is down. But on the other hand, if you're quite close to the mins and maxes, that might explain why you're seeing periodic errors on these interfaces. So one last command I want to look at really quickly, because this kind of relates to the show interface stuff. If you're sat on the operational mode CLI and you type monitor interface name, so monitor interface GE000 or something, you can see in real time statistics updating for that interface. So you can get a quick feel for how much traffic is passing there. I mean, in this example interface, we can see that we've been running this for 23 seconds on our box. There is actually not very much traffic at all, just about 4 kilobits per second coming in, 0 kilobits per second going out, and we see those values dynamically updating in front of us, and we get the same statistics in both bits per second and packets per second. I mean, one last useful variation on this command actually is just to run show interface traffic. So instead of a show interface and then an interface name, make that last keyword, monitor interface traffic, and then we'll get a similar dynamically updating output, but we'll get now one line per interface. Pretty nice just to get a quick read on the whole box and what level of traffic is going in or out of it.